Sands. Bradford Loomis is here, and his good buddy Brett Thompson. And the two of them are going to make some mighty good music for you tonight. So we just invite you to kick back and enjoy what's going on.
Just looking for some playing way I can raise my head. Hey mister, can you tell me where man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand, and was all he said. I picked up my mate and I went looking for a place to hide. When I saw Carmen and the devil walking side by side, and I said, hey Carmen, can you go with me downtown? She said, oh no,
Oh, you kid, you can't nimble, and you ain't
on down the line. Oh, my bag is sinking low, and I do believe that it is dying. To get back to Miss Fanny, you know that she's the only one who sends me here with her ring out for everyone. Sing along, oh Fanny, sing along for free. Sing along, oh Fanny. Put the law right on me. Thank you very much. Tommy, would you mind giving me a little more low end on the guitar? That'd be cool. Thank you. How you guys doing tonight? You doing well? Awesome. Well, it's been a crazy year for me. We were down here last January, just about a year ago, and it's nice to be back. I'm really enjoying the weather. Has been wonderful. We last year was pretty intense. I'm from Seattle, Washington, and we moved to Nashville. So in and around moving to Nashville, I played 210 shows and drove 52,879 miles. And it's been a lot, it feels like. So I took a month off, which I don't do real well. I get a little bit restless, but it's nice to be back out on the road. And we had a really rough winter last winter, coldest winter I've ever experienced. And so we figured, man, let's move to the south. Now's the time to do it. Let's not put up with this. Moved to Nashville and it's 8 degrees. And everything's iced over, and I'm like, I can't get away from it. So when we left on tour from Greensboro, it was like 10 degrees and
about 10 degrees and 8.5
inches of snow, and pretty burly. So
I'm beginning to think you might be the answer to global warming.
That might
everywhere
be
you go. It's cold.
I'll just keep traveling, keep bringing the cold. Well, this song is about being out on the road, and sometimes you get confronted with heavy things. Not necessarily being on the road. I just happened to be on the road at the time, but my wife and I were trying to make a tough decision, which ultimately led to us moving to Nashville. And I was driving through West Texas. And if you've never been to West Texas, but you really have some heavy thinking to do, you know, maybe you've been putting off Stephen Hawking's new book about astrophysics, and you want to get into that. Drive through West Texas while you got that on, because you're going to be there a while, and there's not much to see. So it's a good place for doing some thinking. So this song came out of that. It's called Drive You Home. I was watching the sunset, bathe the horizon with wistfulness, singing a song sounded like regret. And that's wearing those swaying lights. Oh, she drew me in, falling too close. In the dark I was thrown against the night. Oh Lord, it's such a long way down. Close your eyes and try to catch your breath. Get away like a widow's gal, or married Edith. How does it feel when the fire so suddenly real, when they're wearing you out? Does it sink into your bones? All the reasons that you had to stay are one like a masquerade. Oh, how does it feel when fear is a crowd? Let me drive you home.
That was Plants.
I was watching those lights dance between the trees underneath the field of stars. Heard a whisper and it sounded just like Loomis. And that temptress of swaying light, she drew me in far too close. In the dark I was thrown against the night. Oh Lord, it's such a long way down. Close your eyes and try to catch your breath. In a way like a widow's gal, or married Edith. How does it feel when the bar so suddenly real is wearing you out? Does it sink into your bones? All the reasons that you had to stay are one like a masquerade. Oh, how does it feel when fear is a crowd? Let me drive you home. All these spinning around, oh, don't get you any farther. So you were shaped by the sound. Always seems it's getting harder, but you know you can't hold all your hope, falling by the wayside. All these spinning around. Whoa, how does it feel when the fire so suddenly real is wearing you out? Does it sink into your bones? All the reasons that you had to stay are one like a masquerade. Oh, how does it feel when fear is a crowd? Let me drive you home. All the reasons that you had to stay on one like a masquerade. Oh, how does it feel when fear is a crowd? Let me drive you home. So as I've gotten older, I've discovered I have this new ability that no one really ever told me about. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, to be honest. It's this newfound ability to injure myself while I'm sleeping. I don't know what happened exactly, but somewhere along the lines I woke up and threw my back out. And in a moment of exuberance, on tour, I picked Brett and a buddy up at the same time in a bear hug. Yeah. And I think maybe that was not the right call. So I'm going to sit down for a little bit and let my back rest. But speaking of getting older, so you may have noticed I have a ginormous beard. And the beard is like a blanket of agelessness to some degree, or just age obscuring. People can't tell how old I actually am. So I was at a show and I was talking to somebody, and I don't know how we got on this subject, but we were talking about, you know, those DNA tests, 23andMe, and you can send away and it'll tell you like what your heritage is and where you come from in the world. And so it's kind of cool. My wife is adopted, so we just did that for her for Christmas. And so I was out on the road and we were talking about that to somebody in the audience, and he said, well, you know, what does your wife know about her family history? And I said, well, she's adopted, so all we know is that her dad was a Marine. And he said, oh, did her dad serve in World War II? And I thought, how old do you think I am? Just for clarification, my wife's father's father is 92, and he served in World War II. So, no is the proper answer to that question. But just to make matters worse, on that same tour, different individual, we were having a discussion about the effects of war, and he asked if I served in Vietnam. And I was born well after the end of Vietnam. So no, I did not serve in Vietnam.
But if you had, you wouldn't have shaved your beard.
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyways, that doesn't have anything to do with this next song, but that's where we're at. So my name is Bradford Loomis. This is Brett Thompson. Brett Thompson's from Greensboro, North Carolina.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here tonight. Thank you, Tommy, for hosting, and for running sound as well. Running sound for artists that come in and then they hook up their stuff real quick, and then you've got to kind of control the chaos and then go through that. That's always a thankless job, and you only ever notice them when something goes wrong. So, Tommy, thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you. We're gonna play a song that I don't get many chances to play. It's a song that I wrote with a friend named Beth Whitney, and actually the first time we ever played here, yeah. Okay, you guys remember Beth. So the first time we played here was with Beth. Beth and I were in a group called the Banner Days, and so last year I didn't bring any Banner Days CDs, so I have a bunch back there, and I even have some Banner Days shirts. Beth just had child number 2, so she had a beautiful little girl, and so she's taking it easy right now, and they're trying to figure out what baby number 2 is going to mean for making music and traveling, and they'll shake that out. But we'll see what happens. So this is a tune that we wrote together, and this is called My Beloved. Here you go. stars in the sky, one by one, my love, my perfect wine. Our love is like a raging fire, as strong as the grave. No tide will ever pull us asunder, no wash us away. My love, my perfect wine. So one of the things we like doing at these shows is when there's a listening room environment like this, it feels like it's a lot easier to have a conversation. And so if at any point you guys have any questions, feel free to shout them out. You know, it works better between songs, but otherwise I'll just think you're singing backup, which is cool. But before we start this next song, do you guys have any questions so far? How long have I been doing this? So I gave up music for about 10, 12 years, something like that. And so I got back into music right around 2011 or so about 7 years. Started picking up playing out in front of people again. And just kind of eased my way into it a little bit, but I've been full-time for about 3 years now. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah. Crazy story. So the first time in 2014, the first tour I ever booked, I had put out this video on YouTube, and Brett had commented on it before, and so we'd kind of talked a little bit about that song. And then I was putting together my first tour. I'd never done it before, and so I just said, hey guys, where do you think I should go? I'm going to try to tour around the United States, particularly on the East Coast. And so Brett said, I'll host you for a show. And so I came and I played at a friend of his house, and so that started it. And then 2 years, that was Beth and I's very first tour I ever booked. And you could tell it was the first tour because I booked the first show of the tour. The first night was on Super Bowl Sunday. A total blunder. And even to make matters worse, the Seahawks were playing. And so we watched the Seahawks play the Super Bowl in North Carolina instead of having a show. But we came back a couple years later, and he hosted us again, and we were heading up to New York, and Brett loves New York. I'm kind of talking about you like you aren't here.
It's fine. I like it. I like hearing what you have to say.
So he said, if you're going to play New York, that might be the excuse I need to go up to New York. And that's like a 9-hour drive. So I said, dude, if you're going to come up to see us play, then you might as well play with us. So he said, are you serious? And I said, yeah. So he brought his guitar and he sat in with us. He'd never played with us before, no rehearsal. And just the three of us, me, him, and Beth. And he put in the third part harmonies, and it was awesome. So last year, we decided to do a proper tour together. So last year's tour was the very first time we toured together.
Yep.
And you guys got to be a part of that. So we just kept doing it. So he went on 3 of the 7 legs of touring that I did last year. And so we went to, came down here to Florida. We went to the Louisiana and Texas, and went up to New England as well. Yeah, a lot of fun.
We get along well.
Yeah. So the internet is how we met. It's a glorious place sometimes.
Isn't that how everybody meets now?
Yeah.
It's a thing. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do another song. It's the first song I ever wrote with my wife. And it's also a song that was put out on the Banner Day record. And it's kind of a unique song. It's a tune about a little girl. She spends her days being watched by her grandmother. And her grandmother's got this funny way of talking. It kind of makes her unique and makes her stand out to this little girl, aside from being her grandma. But more than just talking with a funny accent, she says these things and she does these things that allude to another place, another time, and other people. And when the girl is intrigued and brings it up, the grandmother won't answer any other questions about it. And so what the little girl doesn't know is that her grandmother came to the United States as a refugee. See, shortly after World War II, when Stalin was wreaking havoc, the grandmother fled Romania. Some of her sisters didn't make it out. And so she doesn't like talking about it, as you can imagine. And so this little girl, she goes to sleep at night and she dreams these elaborate dreams trying to fill in the gaps of who her grandmother was and what life was like for her and her sisters. This is a song about those dreams. It's called Come Dance With Me.
Down against your billows, and close your eyes and dream. And can you hear the wind whistling through the willows, swaying in time with the reeds. 12 princesses, their skirts spinning through the air, singing a melody so soft and vague. Come dance with me, oh come on and dance with me. Oh, all along the shores of the great Black Sea, I put on my dancing shoes, my ruby red dancing shoes. Oh, come and dance with me while we're young and free, while we're still young and free. The sea is calm, the sky is brilliant blue, and every way that you can see your treasures just for you. So turn the stones of red aside, and under you will find flowers, diamonds, wiggly worms, and treasures born divine. With me, oh come on and dance with me. Oh, all along the shores of the great Black Sea, I put on my dancing shoes, my ruby red dancing shoes. Come dance with me while we're still young and free.
So how familiar are you guys with like true Grimm's fairy tales? Like a real one? You know how sometimes they make like a kid's version of a book, or they make like Disney puts out a version and they decide to shorten it. I don't mean those. I mean like real Grimm's fairy tales. There's a few of you? Okay. This song kind of came about in an interesting way. I'd never really read a Grimm's fairy tale, and one night I was putting my girls to bed, and my dad, we have this tradition in my family of giving books for gifts, and so my dad had given us this collection of Grimm's fairy tales, and so we'd just gotten it for Christmas, and so I said, girls, why don't you go pick a book and we'll read a bedtime story. So they go and they get the Grimm's fairy tale, and I don't know if this is a real thing, if it exists, but somewhere along the line, I'm pretty sure I've watched a cartoon version of Hansel and Gretel. One of these days, I'm actually going to go research and find out if that's a real thing, or if somehow I'm familiar with the story, but I'm not familiar with the story. So I find Hansel and Gretel, and I thought, oh, girls, let's read this one. I know this one. You'll like this. So we start reading the story. I had no idea this was like Game of Thrones for children. Not really appropriate for children at all. But so we we made it about a page and a half in before it was obvious I had no idea what I was in for. So we switched to another book. I'm pretty sure it was The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And so I put the girls to bed, and I went back and I read through the stories, and I was really very transfixed. I mean, they're dark and they're grim, obviously. They're very aptly named, and I kind of feel like I should have seen that coming. But I was blown away with how poetic and beautiful they are. Also, there's something prohibitive happening. You know, they're using fear to tell a story and consequently a life lesson. And so that was interesting for me. And when I was growing up, there was a lot of abuse in our family. And I always wanted to, when I became a writer, I always wanted to address that. And I've written a couple songs, and early on, especially when I was a teenager, they were really bad. And so they didn't quite capture what I was going for. They're a little too heavy-handed, that sort of thing. I've never found a way to touch on the subject lightly without being too heavy-handed about it. And so in reading this Grimm's Fairy Tales, that seemed kind of apropos. You know, it's a good vehicle for telling a dark story without getting into, you know, it's kind of analogous. It's an analogy. You don't have to go into specifics. But so anyways, long story short, this is my Grimm's Fairy Tale song, and it's called Overcome.
We were born in a little home right at the edge of the woods. Mama was sad when she put us to bed. Listen, honey, please be good. Keep the doors all tight. It's not safe at night. We grew up with the fear of what lurked in the wilderness. When the sun went down on a tired little town, the wolves would prey on us. I still hear the sound of the haunting hour. I learned to hide when the fires died and the shadows they grew long. Don't make a sound when you'll be found when the beasts come to sing their song. I still hear the beat of their bounding feet. For all the suffering that we've endured, I've spent so much of this life crippled by fear. I was always too afraid to try when love was on the line. For a heart that's been given life, I've been more dead than alive underneath the August sky. For all the suffering that we've endured, so much of this life crippled by fear. When the ghosts sit on the mount, hold you in their grave, they want we keep the doors locked tight. Be watchful at night. A wintering heart may hunt. I still hear the sound of the haunting house.
Do you guys have any other questions so far? How old am I? That saves anybody asking if I, had any personal opinions on Dwight Eisenhower's presidency. So I thank you for that. Any other questions? Well, there might be some of you that are thinking it but don't want to ask it. And maybe no one's thinking it, but I'll answer it anyways because I get it at almost every show. This last November, 9 years ago, I gave up shaving. It's a deadly habit, you guys. And maybe not deadly, but I suppose it's possible. So November is my 9-year beard anniversary. I always used to get, has anyone ever told you you look like Hagrid? Yes. And now my daughters, because I've got this silver streak in my hair, my daughters are like, Daddy, it's only a matter of time before you're Santa. That AC popped on, and my guitar has no idea what to do with itself. Well, this next tune, I'll tell you the backstory for this. So last year I put out 2 records in 2017, and the first of which was an album called Bravery in the Bell. And I should say the second one was a Christmas record, and that was a lot of fun. The first record was called Bravery in the Bell, and it was inspired by 2 different songs. The first of which was, we found out my dad had early onset Alzheimer's. Thank you. He left when I was 5, so we haven't really ever been close. But it did give us kind of a ticking clock, so to speak. Some urgency to connect and be intentional about connecting and share stories. And so he's been passing along some stories that he's never really told me, but maybe always thought about passing down. I don't know. But he's definitely been more intentional. And so it's been interesting for me because it's given me a context about his life. But it got me thinking a lot about lineage and the things that we do hand down from generation to generation. And sometimes that is something that's in the blood, like Alzheimer's can be. Sometimes it's something that you're intentional about. The way that you spend time with your kids, or the way that you love your spouse, or and then sometimes it's kind of default behavior, like the way you parent, or the way you interact when you're angry or upset, that sort of thing. And And so I was thinking a lot about that lineage thing and the things that we passed down, and it got me thinking about my wife. And so when my wife and I met 18 years ago, I met her at a show. She was taking pictures of the band, and I was in said band. And so I asked her out on a date. We went out the very next night, and she, she bowled me over. I knew that by the end of that first date, she was the woman I wanted to marry, and so I didn't really know what that meant. I know what that meant, but a couple months went by, and we saw each other every single day. And my mom pulled me aside, and she said, your sister and I really like Kim. We really feel like she's the one. And so I said, I agree. I'm not sure what to do about it. And she said, well, I've got your dad's old rings, your dad and mine's old rings, and so they're yours if you want them. And so I don't know. I was pretty fascinated with that idea. They were married for 6 years, and so I wear my dad's old ring, and my mother's ring is worn by my wife, and so. There's something kind of cool and redemptive about that for me. And it's not a competition, but we're winning. They were married 6 years. We've been married 18. It doesn't hold up with the cold air. So I tell that story to say this. My mother passed on this ring to me. And I held on to him. I put him in my pocket, and I was scared. I knew I wanted to marry her, but that's a significant life change. And so I was terrified to ask her, more specifically, the stuff that I went through as a kid, the things that were passed down from my dad's family to him, and then from him to me, I did not want to pass down to my kids. And so I didn't want to have another failed marriage. That makes it sound like I had more than one. They broke up after 6 years, and in pretty disastrous circumstances. So I didn't want that to happen to us. So it took me a while to get up the courage to ask her. But my wife has fundamentally changed our family in the direction of our lineage. And so this is a song that I wrote about her, dedicated to her. It's called The Swingin' Bell. Honey, where the line ends and the penitent breathe. Oh, they're all dolled up like $1 million waiting on a dream, but they never sleep. No, they never sleep. Only where the light ends and the body gnats that sees. Oh, the way that it rolls, Jewish only knows that they would someday swing. Oh, let them ring. Well, I'll be the stories that you tell. If you be my Sunday blue, and you could be that wishing well that I
swinging bell. If you'll be my swinging bell. I'll leave where the bell rests. Oh, on garters and sings all the way there out that you were shown it all. They would someday dive into. Oh, when ashes are fast passions way more than they mean to you. When all of those dreams they said could it be come true will be the swinging bell.
Surely you must have questions now. No? Anything? How old am I? I'm 45. 45. I am. I'm the old man. If only I had a age-cloaking beard. I've been working on it. This is like 6 years now.
You'll get there someday, buddy.
I know. While Bradford's sleeping, I kind of try to figure out what... I'll go through his stuff looking for his beard dust, his magical beard dust. Doesn't exist.
That's not creepy at all.
It's just perseverance and... perseverance and manliness give you that beard, nothing else.
Sometimes I get the question, so do you use like a beard oil? Or, what do you do for your beard? And every time I get that question, I know people mean well. But I think, are you kidding me? I got this way because shaving was too much of a pain in the neck. I wasn't looking to take on a new beauty regimen. I think it's backfiring if that was the case anyways.
Oh.
Wizard status. Either that or sea captain, you know? I'm waiting for someone to just assume I'm a sea captain. I think I need more tattoos.
That can be arranged. You're in West Palm Beach.
Or a parrot.
Yeah. Tour parrot.
Well, we're in a church. Do you guys mind if we play an old hymn? Is that cool? Okay. This is one of my favorites. And so Beth and I, we put out an album together, and it was a lot of fun. So we'd always wanted to do a hymn record. And so we put together a hymn record. And I've got it back there as well. This is one of my favorite hymns. And it was a fun version to come up with. And then when I showed it to Beth, we added some other cool things to it. So this is Rock of Ages. And if you know it, feel free to sing along.
your sin could not atone. Nothing in my hand I bring, simply to the cross I cling. Naked come to thee undressed, helpless love to wrong of ages, clear for me. Let me hide myself in thee.
Thank you very much. Do you guys mind if we play two more? Is that cool? Okay, two more.
This is my cue.
Let's auction them off. If there is a song you want to hear, feel free to shout it out if you know it. But
May I interrupt you for a moment? Yes, please. Okay, these guys do this for a living. These guys do this for a living. They should probably get paid for tonight. So, if you are willing and are able, we would love to show them some love tonight. I'm going to just pass the plate around, and whatever you can contribute would be very much appreciated. Go ahead.
well, this song it's a song I put out a number of years ago, but it's made kind of an interesting resurgence for me. And it's a tune that I wrote coming from the Pacific Northwest, a pretty not diverse area. And I remember the first time I saw the Mississippi River, the first time I came over that river, man, it felt like a religious experience. And the first time I was driving down the freeway, I remember it was in Georgia, and we drove by a Civil War battle site. And man, as a kid that loved history and read so much about the Civil War, I was blown away. But when when I saw a place where slavery was actually practiced, that was pretty heavy. And I remember thinking, I can't believe we did that. See, for me, when I was growing up, I think the idea of America is a powerful idea. And all of the virtues that are most noble and virtuous that we're capable of as a species, for me, is wrapped up in the idea of America. But we're still humans, and humans make mistakes, right? And so I wrote this song as trying to further a conversation. And if you've spent 5 minutes on Facebook, you've probably seen we're not so good at having conversations right now. And it seems like it's harder and harder to see the humanity in somebody else who doesn't agree with you. And one of the things I love about this job is we travel a lot, so we meet people on all spectrums of the political, all spectrums of religious experience. And that's a powerful thing, to see how similar people are, regardless of their ideologies. Anyways, that's why I wrote this song. So in May of 2017, I was approached by a company, and they said, hey, we found your song Into This Chain on a wedding website. And I thought, why is my song about slavery on a wedding website? But to each their own, I suppose. Whatever works. So they said, we want to have you come in and narrate this game. We're looking for somebody that can kind of do like a Samuel Elliott style, you know, the beef that's what's for dinner guy. We're looking for someone who can do that same sort of a low, gravelly voice, and I just happen to do a pretty decent Samuel Elliott impression. And so I gave it a try. I sent him a voice file, and just like a little recording on my phone. And they said, that's great, come on in and narrate this video game. So they put it out for the Sony PlayStation. It came out this summer. And we're telling this story on tour. We're in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And the gentleman in the first row says, I have that game. The game's called Dino Frontier. You should come over after the show and play it with us. And I thought, yes, because they let me play it before I did the voice work, but I haven't played it since. So it turns out he didn't have the right controller. So we couldn't get past the screen. It's a virtual reality game. And the basic premise of the game is this. You're in the wild, wild west, and you're building a town, and it's virtual reality, so you can pick up the settlers and put them in an area, put them by the trees, they start chopping down the trees. You put them by the bushes, they start harvesting berries. And then there's dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Because why not? So, anyways, I still haven't played this game, and I just want to play the game so that I can hear myself tell myself what to do. I think it'll be therapeutic. Anyways, this is the song that came out of that. It's called Into This Chain. I was born in a poor man's town. The blood of my father painted this ground. The fear of a man was all I knew. I'm drawn in the sights of a name that's true. Living in a funeral pyre that we built ourselves just to set it on fire. Fire, set it on fire, set it on fire. I ain't had nothing but anger and shame. It's building up now like a runaway train. I set my mind once I tried to get free. It left me hanging from a Tupelo tree. Cut a man down and cage his heart, and all you've done is just set him on fire. Fire, set him on fire, set him on fire.
end of this chain, end of this chain. Oh.
What's that? Nice. Thank you.
Now you know why the guitars go out of tune.
Okay, we'll do one last song. Do you guys have any final questions? Last chance. I'll tell you what, it's pretty nice being down here in January. I have no problems with that whatsoever. I think we'll definitely be back in January. Yeah. Let's do that again. That sounds great. Nice. Well, any other questions? I have played a few shows in Canada, but not Europe as of yet. Well, I'm hoping to get to Europe, and so is my wife. Because she's told me that if I go to Europe, I will be taking her in no uncertain terms. So I got to figure that out. But we just spent 2 days with a good friend of Brett who has toured Europe quite a bit. And he was telling us some incredible stories. So it's definitely something we want to do. We'll make it work one way or the other. Well, I got a little merch table in the back, and it's got some shirts and some CDs, and I even have some flasks. I hope that's all right, Tommy. They are empty.
They're empty, yeah.
So just so you know. Yeah. A funny story about those flasks. I started getting them, and they used to have my name on them, and so I thought that was kind of cool. And I used to, when I first started music, I restarted music, so about 5 years ago, I used to deliver booze on the side. And I live in Seattle, so I drink an absurd amount of coffee. And there's Starbucks everywhere. And I'm not a big fan of Starbucks coffee, but it's everywhere. So I would stop and get refills throughout the day. And so I would need something to kind of keep the coffee tasting different. So I would put some sugar-free syrup in my flask. And one day as I'm sitting in the front seat of my booze truck, having just gotten my coffee, and I'm pouring my sugar-free syrup out of my flask into my coffee, I realized, you know what? This probably doesn't look very good. So I stopped doing that. But they're handy for carrying things other than booze. But I've got some stuff back there, and I'd love to send it with you. The latest record has felt very much like a family project. My wife does all of my image work. So she does the album art for us. And it's my lovely youngest daughter that's on the cover, and she's on one of the shirts as well. And so it feels very much like a family project. And my wife even helped me write a couple songs. We are headed to St. Petersburg tomorrow. And then we go up to Atlanta after that. And then up to Greensboro. And then I'm off the road for a few weeks. A place called the Hideaway Cafe. Yeah. Oh man, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. I should say I also have a mailing list, and if you're on Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, we're on pretty much all of the interwebs. So, whatever. You can follow us that way. The Hideaway Cafe. So this last song is a tune called Dead Man's Dance, and it's a song about 2 letters. The first letter was written in 1863 by a gentleman named Samuel Porter, and Samuel had been a slave on a Mississippi plantation. And if you know your history, the Battle of Vicksburg happened that year, particularly in June, and so when it happened, it was the last Confederate stronghold on the river. And so Samuel figured with the river in Union control, maybe it might be safe enough to if he could get to the river, make his way north and hopefully find a way east to get to New York City, in particular to find a woman named Abigail Long, a freed woman that he knew to be living in New York. And so he made it to the river, and he found the Ohio River, took that east, made it to Ohio, and came up against some circumstances he wasn't sure he was going to survive. And so he wrote this first letter. And the first half of the song is this letter. And the song changes tempos a little bit, and it becomes Abigail's letter in reply. So you'll have to imagine a woman's voice there singing the second letter, because it's still going to sound like me. So thank you so much for being here, you guys. Thank you, Trainer and Meg, for putting us in touch with Tommy. Thank you, Tommy, for hosting us. We're going to go hang out with Tommy tonight. It's going to be a party. We're probably the lamest party animals in the world.
Speak for yourself. I know how to party.
But anyways, thank you so much for being here. This is Dead Man's Dance. Here you go.
Don't waste your breath on a wretch like me. As my war's been given to ordinary, when all the things that I've done since the war begun, I could never be free. My believing love brings hope. Don't you set that start, 'cause though you feel me, though it may wrong, my heart will be your home. 'Cause wait, oh you see, there is still love wrong away that storm. Wait, oh you see, there is still love wrong away that storm. Come on, rise on up, get out of that grave, sweet Lazarus.
Thank you so much, you guys. Thanks for being here. Brett Thompson.
Thank you, Bradford Loomis.